Welcome, everybody, to the Woman Being podcast. This is episode 0 of this project that we've been working on for the last several months together and dreaming about and talking about. And now it's officially here. So that's exciting.
Welcome to the Woman Being podcast community,
where we explore thoughts and opinions
and have the freedom to change our minds
without expectation or judgment.
We will hold a safe space and support each other
as we navigate together in the form of feminine. We're here to kind of introduce the episode, give you a feel for why we're here and what we're doing. But first, I thought it would be good for us to just introduce ourselves so that you get to know kind of the people that you'll be hearing from. So I'm Kelly Werner, and I grew up in rural Minnesota. I'm a wife to my husband, Ross. He's amazing. I'm also a daughter and a sister, and I have a cat named Elsa, who I love. I just love animals in general. I love storytelling and particularly finding the humanity in the story and pulling that out.
So I'm Kelly Ann Carter. To help you distinguish between the two of us during recordings, I will be referred to as Kelly Ann. So I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up with 3 younger sisters, which was really fun. We were all homeschooled, so we were home all the time being rowdy and crazy, which is the best. I have an amazing husband, James. He is wonderful and just all around like one of the most amazing people I know. And now I live in a small town in Northern California where I met these 2 stunning women. And I also love storytelling, but in the form of writing or helping bring stories to life. That's kind of me.
And you're awesome.
She is.
I'm Emma. I am from South Carolina and grew up in the South. I moved to Philadelphia for college. I studied photography. I have a bachelor's of science in photography. And I also worked as a missionary for a year, traveling the world and doing storytelling, creating stories and using that as part of my mission work. And now I am a video editor here in Northern California, and I am a passionate environmentalist. I'm a vegan. I am a creator in many aspects, whether it's photo, video, music, whatever that looks like. I love to make things. And I am, just really passionate about a lot of things. And I can't wait to share those passions with you guys.
Yeah,
so
that's good. So we started out in a way that was quite interesting. And Kelly was going to tell us that story.
Yeah. So I had lived in our small town for about 8 years, or when we met, about 7 years, now 8 years. And these lovely ladies ended up working at the place I was working. And it started with me asking Kelly to lunch one day, and we really hit it off. Enjoyed spending time with each other. And then Emma came on to their teams shortly after. We all worked at a media company. And we just kind of all hit it off. We would just get lost in conversation. We would talk for hours, like late into the night, about life and process and the issues our world faces today and the issues we've had to really deconstruct as Christian women raised in the church. And we were just like, you know what? This is a broader conversation. We are not the only ones feeling and experiencing the things we are feeling and experiencing, and we should open that conversation up to whoever wants to join. And this concept of being a woman and navigating the world today is a complicated one, but something that we can all do well together, and we can all bring wisdom to the table that we might not have if those individuals carrying those pieces weren't present. So here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so some of the things that we're going to talk about we are all Christian women. So our faith plays a big part in our conversations just in general and in our lives. But this is not an explicitly Christian topic. Womanhood is broad and deep and beautiful.
Yeah.
So some of the things you can expect from us are talks about purity culture and the way that has affected us growing up in the church, but also talking about race, talking about the foster care system, bringing in experts in those fields to dive into those subjects with us. We'll talk about mental health. We'll talk about, right now we are in the middle of a pandemic, so talking about coronavirus, talking about divorce, all the things that come into it, talking about marriage, talking about singleness. We understand that womanhood is really can impact every single facet of society, every single subject that we could dive into, and we want to open up those conversations, create a safe place for those conversations to happen, and bring you guys into it. We want you to be part of it. So we're really excited about this community.
Yeah, we are. And so we are here. Our podcast is called Woman Being, and we're all women. But we're not here to talk about women. We're here to talk about the world from the perspective of the feminine world. So for anyone out there who's like, oh, this is another feminist woman podcast, yes, that's what it is. But it's we want to look at the world we want to look at the world through our eyes and bring the perspective that we have. It's our lens. So
Can't separate womanhood from us.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that brings me around to Woman Being is the title of our podcast, and it's just a phrase that means human beings navigating the world in the form of feminine. And so that kind of major theme will bring us to this one question that we'll talk about a lot over the course of our time. But I'm going to ask it to these wonderful ladies and then also myself, which is, what does it mean to you to be a woman being?
Yeah. So I feel like my answer to this will and does change all the time. But right now, woman being to me is an act of defiance, really. It's a holy defiance. If you look at the Bible, you see this woman that came into the world named Eve, and she rocked everything. She changed everything, and she really shook things up. And then you see that happen again and again and again in the Bible and in our history books. Women bring change. And you see women fueling and firing revolutions and just these pushes in culture over and over again, whether they're behind the scenes or they're at the forefront. Often they're put behind the scenes. But women are strong and they're bearers of life, whether that's from a womb or it's just mimicking our Creator in being creative in the ways that we tackle issues despite things like oppression and suppression and really just not being given equality. So, yeah, to me, one of the most amazing things about women beings is that even in all of this sort of rebellion that I see, that's a theme of womanhood. There's also this nurturing and this gentleness that women naturally possess and bear, and so all of that is filtered through love and through gentleness, and gentleness doesn't mean submissiveness or timidity, but it means empathy and compassion. So that's sort of the broad scope of what woman being means to me.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
That's beautiful. That actually makes me think of a quote by one of my teachers that I follow, and she says, as women, our power is in our softness. But softness doesn't mean submissive. It doesn't mean quiet. It means the heart posture. And that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Emma.
Of course.
So for me, woman being, I mean, gosh, I was just raised with women. I from Oklahoma, which you can debate if it's the South or the Midwest, whatever. But I was just raised around really strong women. And so I've always had this heartbeat for just feminine everything. And for me, woman being is about your insides matching your outsides. I think that's when we get, Morgan Day Cecil says it really well. She talks about true wholeness is your insides matching your outsides. And true maturity is having the awareness of when those things don't line up and the ability to realign yourself. I also really love thinking about woman being like human being, but also the concept of being versus doing. You actually can't do anything to be feminine. You just are. And it's a state of being, and it's a state of strength. And really, I think in our world, we want to perform, and we're in a very fast-paced performance mentality society. But really, when we sit back and we rest within ourselves, you will find many treasures that you've just been given, that you were born with. So that's kind of for me, woman being.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you.
Woman being to me is being a human, I think, is where the phrase comes from in my heart, is that I'm human. And I have a complexity of thoughts and needs and desires and hungers and thirsts that belong universally to everybody. They may not be the same thirsts or the same desires, but we all have them, and our experiences shape us. And so for me, the phrase woman being just means I'm a person, and the societal structures that we live in sometimes don't necessarily recognize the wholeness of that. And also, woman being means that the Lord created me in his image, and because of that, I bear the image of God. So the femininity that comes out of me, the strength, the softness, the sexiness, all of the things that make up who I am, that is in the image of God. And I have the honor of carrying and reflecting that beauty to the world. So that's what woman being means to me. And all of that being said, we're so excited to dive more into this. And you'll probably hear us say that phrase, dive in, because we say it a lot.
We do.
And in future episodes. So we're really excited to bring you along our journey of this kind of experimental project, but something we have been pouring our hearts into, and our talents and our passions, because we really believe at the heart of it that drawing these stories out and bringing the truth to the surface creates freedom. And I guess I hope that anyone who may have been through experiences like I have, or Kellyanne, or Emma, or any of our guests, might be able to put words to things that they've experienced as well. So we're Woman Being Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Woman Being Podcast. And online, our website is womanbeingcommunity.com. We'll be posting episodes every Tuesday, so we look forward to it. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.